we go around once in this life. So while you're here, you need to do the best you can in an honest and truthful way.
Your positive imprint.
Stories are everywhere. People and their positive action inspire positive achievements.
Your PI could mean the world to you. Get ready for your positive imprint.
Hello, I'm Catherine, your host of this variety show podcast. Your positive imprint is transforming how we live today for a more sustainable tomorrow through education and information. Your own positive actions inspire change. Follow me on Instagram, and brilliant, I'm updating my YouTube channel, Your Positive Imprint. You can also follow me on Meta, formerly Facebook, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Check out my website, yourpositiveimprint.com, where you can learn more about the podcast and sign up for email updates. And thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Pandora, Amazon Music, well, your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube, which I am updating. Music by the talented and legendary Chris Knoll. chrisknoll.com, CHRISNOLE. And thank you again so much for listening and for your support of this podcast. Your Positive Imprint. What's your PI? Well, my guest served as the National Commander of the Military Order of the Purple Heart in the United States. But he's not only a recipient of the Purple Heart, but also holds the Silver Star and Bronze Stars, and has been inducted into the United States Military Hall of Fame for his service as a First Lieutenant Infantry platoon leader and infantry company commander in Vietnam. War is brutal, bloody, and graphic. Doug will share some of his experiences, as these have profoundly influenced his thoughts and actions following his return from the war. In addition to his military accomplishments, Doug has an incredible career in the entertainment industry, having served as the former president of MTV. He has a passion for the outdoors and just simply relaxing in nature. He believes in the tremendous power of positive thinking and embracing life at any age. As a veteran, his words resonate deeply across every continent and nation. All gave some, but some gave all. Douglas Greenlaw, I salute you with the absolute utmost respect. Welcome to the show, Douglas Greenlaw. Doug, hello.
Hello, thank you. Glad to be here.
Douglas Greenlaw continues his story and his positive imprints following the war here on Part 3. You can listen to episodes 219 and 220 to learn more about his experiences in the Vietnam War. Now, you went on, you got your education degree, you went and you taught high school, and then you entered the corporate world. Pat Robertson.
It was called CBN Cable early on, and that was a mistake. Because most of the media buyers, the good media buyers and the media executives in New York City and Chicago and LA, where all the action is, are Jewish. And I used to walk in and they'd have some old ratty newspaper article. See that? What's that C stand for in CBN? It stands for Christian. Well, we don't want to buy a Christian, blah, blah, blah. So we convinced him to change it to the Family Channel, because that's what we had. We had the Rifleman and Wagon Train and Andy Griffith and all those classic old shows, and we got big ratings. We got more ratings than ESPN and MTV did. So it was a real successful run. Pat, I got to know him real well, and he's a great person. I miss him. He's very, very, very smart guy. So I'm hanging on. He told me that God will come to me. Okay. My first job was I went to work for a rock and roll station in Indianapolis as a ad salesman. And I did a great job at that because it was such a great station, and had a wonderful time there. And then I graduated up, into management and ended up working at Pat's network. I was doing more revenue with the Family Channel than anybody. We were number one in cable in revenue. more than ESPN, more than MTV. The only one that challenged us was Nickelodeon because they had big ratings, but they were all kids, so that was a negative for them. So I got approached by the chairman CEO of MTV Networks. He saw what I was doing. He said if he could do it with Family Channel, he should be able to do it miracles with MTV, and I did. I had a ride, 30% increases on big numbers. 30% on little numbers is easy to do. 30% on big numbers is pretty hard. So we had 30% increases every year I was there. And it was a wild ride. It was a lot of fun. And I got some stories about some of the celebrities I met there and how they behaved. So I had good experiences. I got two favorites, Michael Jackson and Bruce Springsteen, different times. And because we were MTV, we had ringside seats at all the functions. If I had a table, an MTV table, we were right up next to the stage. The Video Music Awards at MTV, big deal. Well, every year we'd go to that and we'd have our table. And so I met Bruce Springsteen there. What happened was our table was right up by the stage. And after the awards were given, all the talent would come up onto the stage and jam. So I looked up at the microphone, and there's on the microphone is Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, Billy Joel. He was on the piano. Elton John. These are there's billions of dollars worth of sound.
Absolutely.
6 feet away. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, somebody's scooting a chair up next to me at our table. Now, we paid a lot of money for this table. I'm thinking to myself from the financial side, somebody came in from the audience all the way down here to get on our table. I turned around, it was Yoko Ono, John Lennon's wife.
Yeah.
And she was real nice and quiet. And, she said, "Do you mind if I sit here?" And I said, No. I made everybody scoot around. We sat her right at our table. And I looked up there and at the singers, and both Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger gave me a thumbs up because they saw me make room.
Right.
And so I look at the table next to us, and there's Bruce Springsteen. And I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan even today. And I couldn't help myself. As soon as we locked eyes for some reason, he's looking around like I was. He looked at me and I looked at him. When we locked eyes, I got up and I walked over and introduced myself. And I said, I'm probably one of your biggest fan. I know I sound like a teenager, but I grew up, in the Vietnam era, when you were real popular and you're very young at that time. I said, when you wrote, what was the song?
Born in the USA.
Yeah. And I said, that song meant a lot to us because we were over there fighting the yellow man, like you said in one of your verses. And he stood up and embraced me and shook my hand. He shook my hand like a brain surgeon would, in my mind. It was not a grip, not a hard grip. It was a soft, but not too soft. A nice, gentle grip of a handshake, and it's one I never forgot because it represents him. He's such a nice, sensitive guy. So he does so well, and everybody loves him, and he loves everybody back out, and that's what he did to me. I never forgot it. The chairman of MTV, of Viacom, Sumner Redstone, didn't like to be with celebrities. He got nervous around them. So when he'd have one that would want to come up and thank him for everything that Viacom does for their album or whatever it might be, he would call me and say, "Hey, you want to meet such and such?" Yeah. And one day he called. He said, "You want to meet Michael Jackson?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to meet Michael Jackson." So he said, "Come on up. He's going to be here in about a half hour." So I went up. Michael Jackson walks into his office, and I was shocked. I thought he was a little guy. Well, he's 6 feet tall. He's got big legs, a big ass. He's a dancer. He's like an athlete. I was impressed. And he was real quiet and real shy. And Sumner, the chairman, said, "Michael, we've got a photographer out in the lobby. You mind if we bring him in and take a couple of pictures?" He says, No problem. Photographer comes in, and two of his bodyguards are with him all times. And these guys are like 6'8", 280 pounds, solid muscle, big, strong guys. They just by their presence, nobody comes near him. So he snaps his finger, and one of them has a wooden box in his hand. It's about a 12 by 12 wooden box, square box, maybe 4 inches high. And he puts it down in front of Michael, and he stands on the box because he has to be the tallest person in the photograph. I thought that was amazing. The photographs later, he was the tallest guy.
Oh, that's so funny.
He was 6'4", standing on that box. And the things these people do to protect their image, is pretty astounding.
Oh my gosh. What a career in the corporate world. When my mom and dad got cable, we got MTV and we would watch the videos all the time.
And your dad, when he was 21, was probably our target. What they targeted, I wasn't there yet, but they targeted a 21-year-old male. All the young people wanted to be 21 again. Remember when you were 18, you can't wait till you're 21? The older people want to be 21 too. So we picked that male. The girls wanted that male, and the guys wanted to be that male. So we focused on one. Instead of a big demographic, we focused on an individual for MTV. We did the same with Nickelodeon for kids. So, and it worked out real well.
And you were in this corporate world for how many years?
More than I like to admit, 40.
That's a long time.
People would come up to me young people would come up to me at MTV and say, "Man, I want your job. You got the best job in America. I want your job." And I said, "Well, you can have it, but you got to do what I did to get here. I worked hard to get here, and I started right out of college at the lowest level salesman you could be. And I worked my way up. I was always the first one in, the last one to leave. And of course, I had just out of the Army, I had my discipline, and I was in good shape. So, but they started trailing off when I tell them how hard it is to get where I was, and that's true. They don't hand these jobs out, to anybody. I always loved Ross Perot. Remember Ross Perot?
I do remember Ross Perot.
One of our first billionaires. Yeah. Ross Perot said, and I believe this, he said, "What I do is I surround my people with the best people I could find, the best, and I pay the most, I get the best I can get, and I ride on their shoulders to victory." We had good times. And then I went on to CEO roles from there. I've been a leader since Little League Baseball when I was 9 years old. And as I say in the book, I am my mother. I mean, my father gave me my physical abilities and my work ethic. My mother is me. I'm exactly like she's a 5'2", short, little feisty Scottish lady. I learned a lot from her. And when I was 9 years old, there's a picture of me in the book at 9 years old at a business dinner where she took me along with her in her job. She was head of marketing for a small firm and that sold advertising. And she brought me along early. So I always had that confidence in me from day one. I had a good, solid mother. She never knew a stranger. She never took any crap from anybody in a good way. And so I had a good start. And then I had the military, which I had a chance to express my leadership. And a lot of leaders came out. I'm not the only one. A lot of them did. So I'm just one of them. Like I'm part of the story, the story of the average kid. That was me. I never thought I was better than anybody else, but I never thought I was worse either. So I always had this strong sense about me, and I noticed other people have it too. So when it came to standing up to Sumner Redstone, I knew I was right with the CEO of Viacom when I was running the MTV Networks. I reported to the CEO of Viacom, Sumner Redstone. I had to stare down with him. He told me to hire his daughter. He called me up and he says, "Greenlaw, I was surprised he even knew who I was." He said, "Greenlaw, I want you run a good marketing organization here. I want you to hire my daughter. She's smart, and I just want her to get some training. I figured this would be good training for her to start with a marketing position." I said, "I'll be happy to talk to her." He said, No, you don't understand. I'm not asking you to talk to her. I'm ordering you to hire her. Direct order." I said, "Have her call me." So she did. She called, and we set up an appointment for the next morning. She walks in like she's walking down the street in Central Park. She's casual. She had too much makeup on. She could use a shower. I'm thinking to myself, ooh, this is not going to be easy. And she was cocky and arrogant and remember who her father is, right? Sumner Redstone, one of the toughest guys in the world, was her father. So she took after him without any credibility. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't get her out of here fast enough. I'm not hiring her. We had people like you on staff. I had Karen Zollman, and I had a couple of senior vice presidents that were fantastic. And they knew how to dress. They knew how to act. They knew the numbers. And so I was going to put her, because he wants me to hire her. I'll hire her. I'm going to give her a low-level job. And she's going to work for Sandy Sheffer and Karen Zollman, and together, see, they can talk the talk. I can't tell her to go wash her hair. I mean, I can't, even if it's just by modeling with Sandy and Karen, she'd get it. And, in a year or so, we'd promote her to a sales assistant. And then another year, maybe she would be, if she still is good, we'll promote her to a marketing person. She refused that. She walked out, didn't even look at me, didn't say any words to me at all, just got up and walked out. So the next morning, Sumner calls me. He says, "Get up here, Doug. I want to talk to you." I'm thinking, oh, great. Same thing as the captain in the jungle, right? I walked into his office. I had on my best Armani suit, silk tie, man. I strode into his office, shoulders back, chin down. And before he could say anything, he was giving me the dirtiest look you've ever seen. I said, "Sumner, I couldn't hire her." And I told exactly what happened. And he looked at me. He wasn't blinking. We had our eyes going. And he finally blinked. And he looked at me and sort of gave me that little smile. And he said, "Oh, hell, I wouldn't have hired her either." But, so that, I did that before. Stand up for yourself. I knew that she wasn't ready. I always had that feeling that I was doing the right thing, even if I was wrong. I thought I would, and I've been wrong quite a few times too. I've hired some bad people. You don't stay with them, but it happens. Bad things happen, but also good things happen. So I thought that structure I had from my mother and in the military gave me the confidence to stand up if I thought I was right.
So standing your ground and using that experience and keeping level-headed. So I love that you have enough ego to keep that confidence up. And
ego is important.
It is important, but too much can be a problem.
Yeah, it sure can.
I like to end the show with your last inspiring words.
I would just say, in my honest opinion, we go around once in this life. So while you're here, you need to do the best you can in an honest and truthful way. And to me, one of the worst things you can be is a liar. To say something you know is not true. Live a good life. Take care of your family. Take care of yourself. Things will work out because you're going to make more correct decisions than you are incorrect. One correct decision weighs a lot more than 5 incorrect. The correct ones count big time. So just do the best you can. Embrace life, stay healthy, and tell the truth.
Douglas Greenlaw, you are so awesome. I love your positive imprints. And again, I salute you, the work that you've done and your past combat work there in the Vietnam War. Thank you so much for being here on Your Positive Imprint.
It's my honor. Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
To learn more about Doug, go to thegreenlawfoundation.org, and that's including the word the. And Greenlaw, Greenlaw. This is a free podcast, and right now I'm starting a new campaign to help fund the production of this podcast. If you'd like to support this production, go to buymeacoffee.com/yourpositiveimprint, and any support you offer will be greatly valued. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to Your Positive Imprint. Your positive imprint. What's your PI?